Ladies and gentlemen, two people wake up in the same city. One opens his phone and checks his bank balance with confidence. The other avoids it, hoping nothing bounced overnight. Same sun, same 24 hours, different level of peace. What's the difference? Not luck, not intelligence, not even opportunity. It's respect. Money is silent power. It does not shout, it does not beg, it does not chase you. But when you respect it, it stands behind you like quiet security. Today, I want to give you 7 truths that can change your financial future forever. The first key point is money rewards discipline, not emotion. And this is where most people quietly lose the game before they even realize they're playing it. Money does not respond to excitement. It does not clap when you get a bonus. It does not feel sorry for you when you've had a hard week and deserve something nice. It simply watches your behavior. Think about it. The moment you feel stressed, you order something. The moment you feel happy, you celebrate with something expensive. The moment you feel bored, you scroll and buy. Emotions move fast. Money moves slow. And when fast emotions control slow money, damage happens quietly. No alarms, no warnings, just small leaks in your future. I once met a man who made a decent salary. Nothing extraordinary, but more than enough to build a strong life. Yet he lived paycheck to paycheck, not because he lacked income, because he lacked pause. Every purchase was emotional. Bad day at work, new shoes. Fight at home, fancy dinner. Feeling insecure, upgrade the car. He wasn't buying things, he was buying relief. But relief is temporary, bills are permanent. Over time, he became trapped by the very habits that were supposed to make him feel better. And here's the painful truth. He was intelligent. He understood budgeting. He could explain investing, but knowledge without discipline is like owning a gym membership and never showing up. Money does not reward what you know. It rewards what you repeatedly do. Discipline with money is not about being cheap. It is about being intentional. It's the ability to sit with a feeling without trying to purchase your way out of it. Imagine standing in a store holding something you don't truly need. In that moment, there are two voices. One says, "You work hard, you deserve this." The other says, "Is this moving me forward or pulling me backward?" Discipline is listening to the second voice, not because you are afraid to spend, but because you respect your future self. Emotional spending feels like comfort food. It satisfies now, but later you feel the heaviness. Financial discipline is like healthy food. It may not excite you in the moment, but it strengthens you quietly. Think about athletes. They don't skip training because they feel tired. They don't change the plan because they feel bored. Their bodies respond to consistent effort. Money behaves the same way. If you consistently save, consistently invest, consistently plan, your financial life grows stronger. Not overnight, not dramatically, but steadily. And steady growth is powerful. A woman I know started saving just $50 a week. It felt small, almost pointless, but she treated it like a promise to herself. Years later, that small habit became the foundation of her confidence. When an emergency came, she didn't panic. When an opportunity came, she was ready. That confidence did not come from luck. It came from disciplined repetition. Emotions are loud. Discipline is quiet. When the latest phone releases, emotions shout. When friends upgrade their lifestyle, emotions whisper comparison. When social media shows vacations and luxury, emotions create urgency. Discipline sits calmly and asks, "Does this align with my plan?" Most people don't fail financially because of one huge mistake. They fail because of hundreds of tiny emotional decisions that felt harmless. A streaming service here, a spontaneous trip there, a why not purchase every weekend. Each one seems small, but small emotional decisions compound just like smart investments do. Over time, they shape your reality. There's also another side to emotion and money: fear. Some people avoid checking their accounts because they're afraid of what they'll see, afraid of facing the truth. But avoiding numbers doesn't change them, it only delays responsibility. Discipline means looking directly at your situation, even if it's uncomfortable. It means saying, "This is where I am, and I will build from here." When you face your finances honestly, you take back control. When you avoid them, you give control away. Money respects courage. It respects structure. It respects people who are willing to sit down, make a plan, and follow through even when it's not exciting. Understand this deeply. Discipline is a form of self respect. When you manage money wisely, you are telling yourself, "My future matters." You are protecting your peace before chaos arrives. You are choosing stability over impulse. It may not look glamorous, it may not get applause, but one day, when others are stressed about bills, you will feel steady. When others are forced to accept situations they dislike because they need money urgently, you will have options. That is the quiet reward of discipline. Not luxury, not show, but freedom built from small, consistent, unemotional choices made long before anyone noticed. The second key point is every dollar has a direction. Money is not just paper or numbers on a screen. It is movement. It is energy waiting to be guided. If you do not give it direction, it drifts. And drifting money disappears quietly like water slipping through small cracks in a wall you never noticed. Most people do not lose money in one dramatic event. They lose it in tiny, directionless moments. A swipe here, a tap there, a "this won't matter" thought repeated 50 times. And suddenly, at the end of the month, there is confusion. Where did it go? It went where there was no plan. Imagine getting into a car with no destination. You start driving, the road feels good, music is playing. You turn here because it looks interesting. You turn there because it feels right. Hours later, you have burned fuel, wasted time, and arrived nowhere meaningful. That is what happens when money has no assignment. When you receive your paycheck and there is no decision made before it arrives, the world will decide for you. Ads will decide, friends will decide, emotions will decide. And none of them are concerned about your long term peace. I once spoke to a young woman who earned well but felt constantly anxious. She told me she was bad with money. When we looked closely, she was not bad. She was unintentional. Her money had no job. It was like hiring workers and giving them no instructions. Of course, they would wander. We sat down and gave every dollar a roll. Some dollars were told, "You are for rent." Others were told, "You are for future investments." Some were assigned to joy, some to growth, some to security. Within months, her anxiety reduced. Not because she earned more, but because she directed better. Direction creates clarity. Clarity creates calm. When you give money a purpose, something shifts inside you. You stop seeing spending as random reward and start seeing it as choice. You begin to ask different questions. Not, "Can I afford this?" but "Is this aligned with where I'm going?" That small change in language transforms everything. A man I know loved dining out. Every weekend, it was expensive restaurants, drinks, spontaneous outings. He never tracked it. When he finally looked at the numbers, he realized those dinners equaled a down payment he kept saying he couldn't save. The money was there, it just had no direction. Once he redirected those same dollars with intention, his future began to take shape. Direction is not about restriction, it is about alignment. Think of a river. When it spreads wide without banks, it becomes shallow. But when it is guided between strong edges, it gains force. It can shape landscapes. Your money works the same way. Without structure, it weakens. With structure, it strengthens. Budgeting is not a cage, it is a set of banks guiding your river towards something powerful. When you decide in advance what matters most, you are building those banks with purpose. There will always be noise, new trends, new gadgets, new reasons to spend, and each one will whisper, just this once. But when your money already has a mission, it becomes easier to say no. Because you are not rejecting pleasure, you are protecting direction. You are honoring a commitment you made to yourself before emotion entered the room. That kind of self-trust is priceless. When you know your money is working toward your goals even while you sleep, there is a quiet confidence that settles in your chest. Start seeing every dollar as a small worker you employ. Would you hire someone and then ignore what they do all day? Or would you assign them a task that builds your vision? Some dollars build security, some create opportunities. Some are meant for rest and enjoyment. But all of them deserve instruction. When you become intentional, money stops being mysterious. It stops feeling uncontrollable. It becomes a team moving under your leadership. And leadership begins the moment you decide that nothing you earn will wander without a purpose. The third key point is income is loud, wealth is quiet. Income makes noise the moment it arrives. It shows up in celebrations, in upgrades, in visible changes. Wealth, on the other hand, grows in silence. You don't see it immediately. You don't hear it. It doesn't announce itself. And that is why so many people chase the noise instead of building the silence. A bonus hits the account, and suddenly there's a rush. A promotion comes, and there's a desire to prove it. A raise feels like permission to level up the lifestyle. But income is a wave. It rises and falls. Wealth is the ocean beneath it, steady and deep. You've probably seen it before. The person who earns well but always seems stretched. The new car, the bigger apartment, the latest watch, everything looks impressive from the outside. But inside, there is pressure. Because high income without control becomes high maintenance. Every upgrade demands upkeep. Every display creates expectation. And slowly, income becomes a trap. There was a man who doubled his salary within 3 years. Instead of doubling his investments, he doubled his expenses. New house, new car, private school, exclusive memberships. From the outside, he looked successful. From the inside, he felt anxious. Because if the income slowed down even slightly, the whole structure would shake. Wealth doesn't need applause. It doesn't need validation. It grows quietly in decisions nobody sees. The choice to invest instead of impress. The choice to delay gratification. The choice to live slightly below your means, even when you could stretch higher. Those choices don't get likes on social media. They don't attract attention at family gatherings. In fact, sometimes they attract confusion. You can afford more, why don't you? Because wealth understands something income does not. Stability is stronger than status. Think about a tree. The branches are visible, they stretch wide and look impressive. But the roots are hidden. You don't see them, you don't praise them. Yet without deep roots, the first strong wind can destroy the tree. Income is the branches, wealth is the roots. If you spend all your energy growing what people can see and ignore what supports you underground, you are building something fragile. And life always sends wind, job changes, health issues, economic shifts. The question is not whether storms will come, the question is whether your roots are deep enough when they do. There's also a ecological shift that happens when you move from chasing income to building wealth. You stop asking, how much did I make this month? And start asking, how much did I keep? How much did I grow? That change seems small, but it transforms your relationship with money. A teacher I once knew lived in the same modest home for 20 years, drove a simple car, rarely spoke about money. People assumed she was average financially. When she retired, they were shocked to learn she had built substantial investments quietly over decades. She didn't win the lottery. She didn't inherit wealth. She simply chose silence over show. Income can disappear quickly. A company restructures. A market shifts. A skill becomes outdated. If your lifestyle depends entirely on a constant high income, you live on a thin edge. Wealth creates cushion. It buys time. It buys options. It buys peace. And peace is not loud. Peace does not need to be photographed. It is felt in the ability to sleep without fear of the next bill. It is felt in the freedom to walk away from situations that compromise your values. That kind of power does not shine outward. It stabilizes inward. The world encourages performance. Bigger, better, faster, louder. But wealth grows in restraint. It grows in patience. It grows in habits repeated quietly, year after year. When you choose to build assets instead of appearances, you may not look extraordinary today. But over time, something powerful happens. While others are constantly upgrading their image, you are upgrading your foundation. And foundations are not glamorous. They are poured slowly, carefully, often out of sight. Yet everything strong stands on them. The fourth key point is your habits reveal your financial future. Not your dreams, not your intentions, not your promises made at the beginning of the year, your habits. The small actions you repeat when nobody is watching. The way you handle money on an ordinary Tuesday afternoon says more about your future than the big goals you write down on a Sunday night. Because habits are not loud, they are quiet patterns. And patterns, repeated long enough, become destiny. Look at your daily routine. When your paycheck arrives, what is the first move? Do you save first or spend first? That simple order tells a story. It's like pouring water into different containers. If you pour into spending first, whatever remains goes to savings, if anything remains at all. But if you pour into savings first, spending adjusts automatically. A man once told me he could never save because there's always something to pay. When we shifted just one habit, automatic saving before anything else, he was shocked. The always something still existed, but now it adjusted around his decision. Habits quietly rearrange reality. Your habits also reveal how you see yourself. If you constantly invest in entertainment, but rarely invest in learning, you are feeding distraction more than growth. If you upgrade your lifestyle every time your income rises, you are telling yourself comfort matters more than security. None of these habits feel dangerous in the moment. They feel normal. That's what makes them powerful. A young professional I knew spent hundreds every month on small conveniences: food delivery, premium services, impulse online orders. Individually, each expense seemed harmless, but collectively, they were stealing his future options. When he tracked his patterns honestly, he didn't need a lecture. The numbers spoke. Habits are like seeds planted daily. You may not see anything growing at first. Weeks pass, months pass. It looks like nothing is happening. But beneath the surface, roots are forming. If your habits are disciplined, patient, intentional, the roots of stability are growing. If your habits are careless and emotional, the roots of stress are growing. The frightening part is that both grow silently. You won't wake up one day suddenly wealthy or suddenly broke without warning. The warning was in the habits all along. There's also the habit of avoidance. Some people avoid checking accounts, avoid reviewing statements, avoid learning basic financial skills. They tell themselves they are not good with money. but that label becomes a habit too. Avoidance creates ignorance. Ignorance creates mistakes. And mistakes repeated become cycles. I met a single mother who felt overwhelmed by finances for years. One day, she decided to sit down every Sunday evening for 30 minutes to review her numbers. Just 30 minutes. That small habit didn't change her income overnight, but it changed her awareness. Awareness changed her choices, and choices changed her trajectory. Think about how you treat unexpected money: a bonus, a gift, a tax refund. Does it disappear quickly because it feels like extra? Or does it become a building block? That reaction is also a habit. It reveals whether you see money as temporary pleasure or long term opportunity. One couple I know decided that any unexpected income would automatically go toward investments. At first, it felt restrictive. Friends would use their bonuses for trips or upgrades. But over years, those redirected surprises turned into real assets. The habit felt small, the impact was not. Your habits are shaping a future version of you right now. The version who feels secure or stressed. The version who has options or feels trapped. And the powerful truth is this: habits can be redesigned, not all at once, not dramatically, but one decision at a time, one automatic transfer, one reduced impulse, one intentional investment. You don't need to transform your entire life in a week. You need to adjust the pattern you repeat daily. Because THE future is not built in giant leaps. It is built in quiet repetitions that slowly, almost invisibly, change who you become financially and mentally. The fifth key point is debt is borrowed stress. It may look like opportunity in the beginning, it may even feel like relief, but debt carries weight. Not just financial weight, mental weight, emotional weight, invisible pressure that sits quietly in the background of your life. When you borrow money, you are not just borrowing dollars, you are borrowing future effort, future time, future energy. And many people agree to that trade without fully understanding the cost. Debt often begins with good intentions: a credit card to manage an emergency, a loan to upgrade your lifestyle, financing something because everyone does it. At first, the numbers seem manageable. The monthly payment feels small, almost harmless, but small payments repeated over years become large commitments. I once met a man who financed nearly everything in his life: his car, his furniture, even his vacations. Each payment felt reasonable, but together they formed a chain. He worked not to build his future, but to maintain his past decisions. That's the hidden cost of careless borrowing. It limits your flexibility long after the excitement fades. There is a difference between strategic debt and emotional debt. Strategic debt builds something that grows: education, business, assets that appreciate. Emotional debt feeds impulse, it supports image, it fills temporary gaps in confidence. One young professional I knew bought a luxury car right after his promotion. The payment consumed a large portion of his income. He told himself it was motivation, but every month the pressure increased. He couldn't take risks at work. He couldn't explore new opportunities. The car that was meant to symbolize success quietly reduced his freedom. Sometimes what looks like PR, progress, is actually pressure in disguise. Interest is patient. It does not rush, it waits, it compounds quietly. When you delay payments or carry balances, interest grows stronger than your effort. It's like planting a tree that doesn't give shade, but instead demands water every month. The longer it stays, the deeper its roots go, and pulling it out becomes harder. I've seen people trapped in cycles where most of their income goes toward interest alone. They are running hard but moving slowly. not because they lack talent, not because they lack ambition, but because past borrowing is draining present strength. There is also the emotional side of debt that people rarely talk about. The subtle anxiety when bills arrive, the hesitation before making decisions because payments are due, the fear of unexpected expenses because there's no room left. Debt narrows your options, it reduces your breathing space. When your income is already committed, before it even arrives, you feel controlled, and control matters. Financial peace is not about luxury, it is about the ability to choose. Debt, when unmanaged, slowly takes that choice away. But here is something important: debt is not always evil. Used wisely, it can accelerate growth. A business loan that builds revenue, a mortgage that creates equity, education that increases earning power. The key difference is intention and discipline. Strategic debt has a clear purpose and a repayment plan. Emotional debt has justification and hope. One is calculated, the other is reactive. The moment you begin asking, will this debt create more value than it costs? You shift from impulse to intention. That question alone can protect years of your future. Freedom feels lighter than impressing others. Living within your means may not attract attention, but it builds stability. Paying off debt may not be glamorous, but it restores control. Every payment you eliminate increases your flexibility. Every balance you reduce increases your peace. And peace is powerful. It changes how you show up at work, how you make decisions, how you sleep at night. When you understand that debt is borrowed stress, you begin to treat borrowing with caution. Not fear, but awareness. Not avoidance, but responsibility. And that awareness can quietly reshape your entire financial life. The sixth key point is money amplifies who you already are. It does not create character, it reveals it. If there is discipline inside you, money will expand it. If there is chaos inside you, money will magnify that too. Many people believe, when I earn more, I will become better. But income is not a personality upgrade. It is a spotlight. It shines brighter on whatever already lives within you. And that is why character matters more than cash. I once knew two friends who both received a large financial opportunity at the same time. Same amount, same starting point. The first one had always been thoughtful, patient, and grounded. He used the money to strengthen his future, paid off obligations, invested carefully, helped his parents quietly. The second had always struggled with impulse and comparison. Within a year, the money was gone. Not because he was unlucky, not because the amount was small, but because the money simply amplified his existing habits. One had discipline multiplied, the other had recklessness multiplied. Money is like volume on a speaker. If the music is calm and steady, turning up the volume makes it powerful and inspiring. But if the music is and chaotic, increasing the volume makes it unbearable. The problem is not the volume, it's the sound. When people suddenly earn more and their life becomes unstable, it is rarely because money changed them. It exposed patterns that were already there. If you avoid responsibility with little money, you will avoid it with more. If you practice generosity with little, you will expand it with more. There is also a deeper layer. Money amplifies insecurities. If you constantly seek validation, more money can fuel the need to prove yourself. Bigger purchases, louder displays, stronger desire for approval. I remember a man who grew up feeling overlooked. When he became successful, he used money as his voice. Every gathering became an opportunity to showcase success. But underneath the display was the same insecurity from years ago. Money did not heal it, it gave it more tools. Without inner work, Outer wealth cannot create inner stability. On the other hand, money also amplifies quiet strengths. A woman I met had always been compassionate. She volunteered when she could, even with limited means. When her business grew, she didn't suddenly become generous. She simply had more capacity to express what was already in her heart. She funded scholarships, supported families privately, built something meaningful without needing recognition. Her money did not change her values, it extended them. That is the kind of amplification that builds legacy. This is why building character before building wealth is essential. If you develop patience, discipline, humility, and self control while your resources are limited, those qualities become your foundation. Then, when money arrives, it rests on solid ground. Without that foundation, wealth feels unstable. You may gain financially, but feel lost personally. And no amount of income can replace clarity of identity. When you know who you are, money becomes a tool in your hands. When you don't, money can quietly control you. So ask yourself honestly, if your income doubled tomorrow, what would it amplify? Would it strengthen your stability or increase your chaos? Would it expand your generosity or fuel your ego? The answer is not in your future, it is in your present habits. The way you handle small amounts predicts how you will handle large ones. Because money does not transform character, it magnifies it, and the work you do on yourself today determines what that magnification will reveal. The seventh key point is financial peace is the real power, not the car, not the house, not the title. Peace. The kind of peace that allows you to breathe fully when you look at your bank account. The kind of peace that lets you sleep without calculating bills in your head at midnight. Many people chase money for lifestyle, but what they truly crave is relief. Relief from pressure, relief from constant worry, relief from feeling one emergency away from collapse. And that relief has a name. It is financial peace. I once met an elderly man who lived in a modest home, drove an old truck, and wore simple clothes. Nothing about him looked extraordinary, but when he spoke, there was a calm strength in his voice. He told me he had spent decades living below his means, saving quietly, investing steadily, avoiding unnecessary debt. I never cared about looking rich, he said. I cared about not being afraid. That sentence stayed with me. Not being afraid. That is the power money can give when handled wisely. Not fearlessness from ego, but security from preparation. Financial peace is the ability to say no without panic. No to a toxic job. No to unfair treatment. No to opportunities that don't align with your values. When you are desperate for income, your standards shrink. You tolerate what you should walk away from. You stay silent when you should speak. But when you have cushion, when you have reserves, when you have built stability, your posture changes. You negotiate differently. You choose differently. Money, when respected, gives you the space to protect your dignity. Think about the difference between reacting and responding. When finances are tight, every unexpected expense feels like an attack. A car repair becomes a crisis. A medical bill becomes a nightmare. Your nervous system stays on alert. But when you have prepared, those same events become manageable. Not pleasant, but manageable. A woman I know lost her job unexpectedly. Years earlier, she had built an emergency fund, slowly, patiently. It wasn't glamorous. It required sacrifice. But when the layoff happened, she didn't collapse. She didn't rush into the first offer out of fear. She had time to think. That time was her power. Financial peace also changes how you experience generosity. When you are stretched thin, giving feels painful. You want to help, but you hesitate because you're unsure if you can afford it. When you are stable, Giving becomes joyful. You can support a friend, help a family member, contribute to a cause, not to prove something, but because you genuinely want to. Money used this way does not inflate ego, it expands impact. Peace allows generosity to flow without resentment or regret. There is also a quiet confidence that comes from knowing you are prepared. It's not loud, you don't announce it, but it shapes how you carry yourself. You walk into rooms without the weight of hidden financial stress. You make decisions from clarity rather than urgency. A young entrepreneur once told me that the most powerful moment in his career wasn't when he made his first big sale. It was when he realized his savings could cover a year of expenses. For the first time, he said, I felt like I was building, not surviving. That shift from survival to strategy is life changing. Financial peace does not arrive overnight. It is built through discipline, direction, patience, and character. It grows quietly in the background while others chase visible symbols of success. And one day, you notice something different. You are not constantly worried. You are not constantly comparing. You are not constantly calculating how to stretch until the next paycheck. Instead, you feel steady, grounded, capable of handling what comes. And in that steadiness, you discover that the true power of money was never in showing the world what you have. It was in creating a life where fear no longer makes your decisions. So, when you step back into your life after this moment, understand something clearly. Money is not your enemy. It is not your savior either. It is a mirror. It reflects your discipline. It reflects your direction. It reflects your habits, your patience, your character, your courage. It quietly records the choices you make when no one is watching. You don't need to chase it with desperation. You don't need to fear it with suspicion. You need to handle it with respect. Calm respect. The kind that comes from knowing every decision today is shaping the freedom of tomorrow. Some people will keep chasing noise, bigger appearances, louder signals of success. Let them. You focus on building something steady, something rooted, something that does not shake when circumstances change. Because the real strength money can give you is not flash, it is stability. It is the ability to think clearly under pressure. It is the freedom to choose what aligns with your values. It is the peace of knowing you are prepared, and that peace is built quietly. One disciplined choice, one intentional plan, one honest habit at a time. When you respect money, you are really respecting your future self. You are protecting your time, your energy, your dignity. You are choosing calm over chaos, clarity over impulse, patience over pressure. Carry that understanding with you. Not as excitement, not as fear, but as steady awareness. And let that awareness shape the way you earn, the way you spend, the way you save, and the way you live.